Italy's quiet crisis. Why young Italians are leaving their country behind. Italy is often seen from the outside as a dream destination. Sun-washed coastlines, historic cities, world-famous cuisine, and a rich cultural legacy continue to fascinate millions of visitors every year. Yet behind this attractive image lies a reality that is far less optimistic, one that many Italians themselves experience daily. In recent years, Italy has been facing a profound demographic and economic challenge. An increasing number of young people are choosing to leave the country in search of better opportunities abroad. This is not a symbolic trend or a temporary fluctuation. It is a long-term structural shift that is reshaping Italian society and raising serious questions about the country's future. Over the past decade, more than 1 million Italian citizens have emigrated. A striking share of them, roughly 1/3, are young adults between the ages of 25 and 34. These are people who have completed their education, entered the labor market, and should be forming the backbone of Italy's future workforce. Instead, many of them are packing their bags and building their lives elsewhere. This trend represents far more than a loss of population. It is a direct blow to Italy's economic sustainability, social systems, and long-term competitiveness. Italy is already one of the oldest societies in Europe, and the steady outflow of young people is accelerating that process at an alarming pace. A long-growing phenomenon. The emigration of Italians did not begin overnight. Since the late 1980s, many citizens have been looking beyond national borders for professional opportunities. At first, this movement remained limited in scale and mostly affected specific regions or professions. However, what was once a marginal trend has grown into a mass phenomenon. In the last 10 years alone, emigration has reached levels unseen in decades. The situation peaked in 2024, when approximately 185,000 Italians left the country in a single year, the highest number recorded in over half a century. In practical terms, this is equivalent to an entire medium-sized city disappearing within 12 months. What makes this development particularly concerning is not only the number of people leaving, but who they are. The majority belong to the younger and most economically active segments of society. Many are recent university graduates, skilled professionals, and individuals at the very beginning of their careers. Instead of contributing to Italy's growth, they are increasingly drawn to countries such as Germany, France, Switzerland, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Together, these destinations now account for more than half of all Italian emigrants. Another emerging pattern adds an additional layer of complexity. A growing number of naturalized Italians, people who obtained Italian citizenship after moving from abroad, choose to leave the country soon after receiving their passports. For some, Italy becomes a temporary stop rather than a long-term home. This further illustrates a broader issue. Italy is struggling not only to retain its native population, but also to convince newcomers to tie their future to the country. The brain drain problem. One of the most damaging aspects of this exodus is the loss of human capital. Over the past decade, more than 130,000 university graduates have left Italy. These are precisely the individuals the Italian economy needs the most. Engineers, doctors, researchers, IT specialists, and highly trained professionals. Once they leave, very few return. The net balance shows a significant and persistent loss of qualified workers. Each departure represents not only a personal decision, but also a substantial economic cost. The Italian state invests heavily in education, yet the benefits of that investment are increasingly realized by other economies. Economists estimate that since 2011, the cumulative impact of brain drain could amount to over 130 billion euros in lost productivity, innovation, and growth. This loss weakens Italy's ability to compete in a globalized economy and undermines its long-term development prospects. Regional imbalances deepen the crisis. While emigration affects the entire country, its impact is unevenly distributed. Southern regions such as Sicily, Calabria, and Apulia are hit the hardest. These areas already face higher unemployment, lower incomes, and limited industrial development. The departure of young people accelerates depopulation and leaves behind aging communities with shrinking local economies. Northern Italy partially compensates for this trend through internal migration. Cities like Milan, Turin, and Bologna continue to attract young people from the South. However, this internal movement cannot offset the nationwide loss of population, nor can it reverse the broader demographic decline. Italy increasingly resembles a two-speed country. The North remains relatively dynamic and integrated into European markets, while the South struggles with stagnation and long-term decline. This imbalance makes nationwide reforms more difficult, as the challenges facing different regions often require very different solutions. A generation without prospects. Surveys consistently show that a large share of young Italians feel pessimistic about their future at home. According to opinion polls, around 35% of people under the age of 30 say they would like to leave the country if given the opportunity, one of the highest rates in Europe. The reasons behind this sentiment are remarkably consistent. Low wages, limited career opportunities, and a lack of merit-based advancement dominate the list. Many young Italians believe that professional success depends more on personal connections than on skills or performance. This perception is supported by data. A large majority of young workers feel that older generations occupy key positions and block career progression. As a result, Italy is increasingly seen as a country of closed doors, where ambition and talent are not sufficiently rewarded. In contrast, countries that attract Italian immigrants often offer clearer career paths, higher salaries, and working environments where skills are more readily recognized. For many young professionals, the choice becomes a pragmatic one rather than an emotional decision. Wages and job insecurity. Italy's labor market plays a central role in this crisis. Real wages have stagnated for decades. Unlike many other EU countries, Italy has no statutory minimum wage. Instead, salaries are determined through collective agreements between unions and employers. In theory, this system covers most workers. In practice, however, a growing number of young people fall outside these agreements. Interns, temporary workers, freelancers, and those employed informally often earn wages that do not allow for a stable standard of living. This group is commonly referred to as the precariat, individuals who work for years without job security, adequate pay, or long-term prospects. Under such conditions, planning a future becomes extremely difficult. Buying a home, starting a family, or even achieving basic financial independence often feels out of reach. Youth unemployment remains another persistent issue. While overall unemployment has declined somewhat in recent years, young people are still disproportionately affected. Many who do find work are offered short-term contracts or part-time positions. Stable, well-paid jobs are increasingly rare for those entering the labor market.